In this episode, we'll be doing arithmetic, but not by hand because that's inefficient. Instead, we'll be using this machine to do it. This is a simple arithmetic code by 8-bit numbers, and this is a sort of crude apparatus that I constructed as a debug method. So, to simplify this down to inputs and outputs and the basic function of how it works, this terminal is the subtract terminal. When it is on, it goes into subtract mode instead of addition mode. This is the carry in, and this is the carry out. Now, this is the normal output and the two normal inputs. Now, this is the base input, and this is the modifier input. So this is what is done to this. So for example, adding 1 to 1, binary 2, adding 1 to 2 to get 3. It's self-explanatory. With subtraction, I chose to use 2's complement because it's the most useful that I know of. And as you can see, it is functioning correctly. Oh wait, these both act as bit 1 because this is the carry in and this is the normal in. Also, as you can see, the first negative number is -1 instead of -0 because having -0 is not advised. This is a very special component. Typically, it is referred to as a register. In this case, it is composed of D flip-flops, as they are referred to. Its function is to store a value. It's pretty simple in nature. It just has the clock input that activates the catching mechanism. The input bus to import the data, and the output bus to output the data. There's probably trillions of these in most circuit boards, or most of the good ones. You definitely don't want a circuit board that doesn't have any internal memory unless it's for a specific task. And you won't find a general purpose computer that doesn't have memory. As an interesting side note, technically, since this is a unary operation on the data, clock input not included, you can reverse the input and output, and the operation will be identical. Or in other words, the whole operation is achiral, so that either end could store the least or most significant digit. That is, if you are storing digits as numbers, you could also use this to store single logical bits as booleans. And this method of storing them, in my opinion, is the most efficient. This is a binary to unary encoder. its intended function is to have one output for each possible combination in binary. And so this is the first combination, and this is the second, and third, and fourth, and it counts iteratively. This is mostly used for things like memory addressing or opcode decoding. So you will find many of these in general purpose computers traditionally. However, there are some ways to not use this while still having a similar effect. However, the usefulness of doing such a thing is yet to be seen. So I bet you can guess what this is. Totally not obvious though. Shift registers, specifically of the SIPO variety this time. So the way I constructed this to work is to have this be the input and this be the clock. And this is capable of receiving serial information and then translating it into parallel information, as well as many other things, such as rotational memory. This is 8 bits parallel, 8 bits deep SIPO. This is for transporting large bandwidth information across time so that you get the best of both parallel and serial. And it's also really good for storing information for later. The way it works is it's really just serialized registers with all of their clock inputs attached to the same general input. And only the first input is supposed to be interfaced with, but the rest of the outputs should be interfaced with, because you're not really going to be interjecting midway through the register, are you? Well, not in most cases.